Random question. In your experience, have you had or do you see high injury rates in jiu-jitsu? Want to start rolling again, but don't want to disrupt progress on the barbell.
The barbell. Oh, yeah. Sure. What? Was that bench or
it's
something?
It's possible I am being a weak suck, although not probable.
Yeah.
Risk assessment. What do you think? Can you get injured in jiu-jitsu? Yes.
Yeah, just like you get injured
you
playing
can get
basketball.
Injured playing basketball.
Actually, you'll get injured playing basketball quicker than jiu-jitsu.
That's very
as far
likely.
as injured
goes.
Yeah,
as far as injured goes.
Yeah.
The key part about this question for me is you want to keep making progress on the barbell, right?
Yeah.
So you want to keep getting stronger.
Yeah.
That's cool. I want you to be stronger. But if you're super strong and you don't know how to fight, I got nothing for you.
Yeah, that's a deeper thing too. And keep this in mind though, and this goes for any physical activity. Like if your goal physically is this thing and then you start going hard in another direction, it could very well take away from
it's going to
pursuit.
take away. You're not going to reach your maximum potential as a weightlifter.
Yeah, if you're
doing jiu-jitsu, for sure.
Or swimming
or anything else.
Or whatever. Yeah.
You got to find the balance. But I mean, what's a more important skill to have?
Yeah.
Be able to snatch big weight or be able to defend yourself in a street fight.
Yeah.
Hey, the snatching big weight's going to help you defend yourself.
Yeah, big time.
We appreciate that. We're fans.
Yeah.
But prioritize.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is on a daily basis, I always work out, but I don't always do jiu-jitsu because you need someone to train with. You know what I mean? Like you need someone to do jiu-jitsu with. You can't do jiu-jitsu by yourself.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't have anyone to train with.
Look, I think from my perspective as a white belt, I've trained enough.
You got to be getting close to that blue belt.
Well, I got a lot more work to do. Certainly a lot more work to do.
It's not up to him anyway.
You guys,
yeah, that's true.
You guys have inspired me. I'm training hard. Got a great place. I'm training down in Texas now. Jocko Machado, awesome.
That's with Todd White, right?
Yeah, Todd White's
awesome guy. Yeah,
yes.
If you're in Austin,
and it's the type of people that train in there. I mean, it's and that's what I like about it. And that's same thing in the place I train in New York. It's just that to me has. I think if you're constantly getting injured all the time, like you're not training with the right people, and you're not training in the right manner. Something that I learned years ago when I was on the boxing team, the Naval Academy, me and my buddies, who were kind of scrubs. We didn't travel with the team, but we just beat the piss out of each other every day. And no one could breathe out of their nose, and everyone had black eyes. And then you watch the guy who was the guys who were really skilled. They sparred, but they were working on form. They were, they weren't just knocking each other's heads off every punch, every time, every single day. And I think that's where you have to. It's great to train hard, but I think you need to train smart. And I think you need to. The biggest thing, I'm guessing this person is probably hasn't trained that much, so that they spin up. Dave Burke and I were just rolling, here at Victory last night, and I was telling Dave, he's made some progress. He's been training out in Virginia. I was like, cool, man, you're doing good. But he gets so amped up that he can't detach. So he can't detach because he gets so amped up. And it's I realize I used to just be in that. I've trained enough now. I still might be the white belty, but I've trained enough now to know that I've got to throttle that back because you get so focused, right? I'm going to focus on my one little white belt Americana I'm trying to get, or armbar, versus like, no, detach and think through
Sounds
the
like Dave
4 or
Burke
5.
is getting nuts, dude.
Yeah, he gets nuts a little bit.
So did you train with him?
Yeah, we did yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it was funny because we're rolling around. I mean, and at one point I'm like laughing at him because he's literally like, that kind of breathing, like, Dave.
In his
just
defense,
relax,
though,
bro, come
it's like when you hear somebody breathing hard like that. Typically, it's like when they're right in your ear, so it sounds way more intense than it really
what about
is.
the time?
It could have been also because I had a little elbow pressure.
What about the time period when you're in, like, kind of starting jiu-jitsu, and Dave Burke might be in this situation right now? It's the very early in jiu-jitsu where in your mind you think, like, you know what, like, I'll be able to. I think I'll be able to get like Jocko, right?
Sure.
Like I'll be like, hey man, if they learn some little move and they're like, if I throw this at Jocko at the right time, I throw this at this black belt at the right time, I'll be able to get him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have that thought in your brain, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I had that with Dean one time. It didn't work.
I mean, but what when you're amped up to that level, though, and yeah, whether you're thinking that like no one can tap me, and I don't think Dave is in that mode. He's learned enough maybe to be beyond that. But it's when you're that amped up, your chances of getting injured are way worse, just more significant. True. And it's why, if you see a brand new white belt coming, I'd much rather roll with brown belts and purple belts and blue. Even though I know they're gonna, they're gonna get the best of me, I have a much less chance of getting injured than just the death match with some white belt who doesn't even know, anything. And you just, so I think you got to be smart about who you train with, and that's what I love about John Machado Austin with Todd White and his guys. They're super. They're very knowledgeable. They pass on stuff, but they're humble, just like folks here at Victory. I mean, it's and I think when you're training with the right people, they're like, "Oh, cool, you got me in an armbar, you got me in a Kimura. That choke was great. Show me how to do that." And it's a humble learning environment where you're not there to injure people, you're not there to get hurt. And I think it's sure you're going to get tweaks and bumps and bruises, but I think there's if you're training smartly and training to learn, then the chance of getting injured, the probability is much less.
My boy Todd White, he's like old school jiu-jitsu guy. Me and him were on the circuit back in the day. The competitions back in the day. He was an old LA Jean-Jacques guy. Yeah. And he, by the way, he listens to the podcast, by the way.
Yeah. LA, that's where all the tournaments were.
Fully. Yeah, they were back in the day. All right.
Addition to that, the jiu-jitsu, I wouldn't want to paint the picture that like all white belts are going to increase your chance of injury. It's kind of a specific type of person to roll with that will increase your chance of injury, and that's like a guy who's strong, may or may not have like this ego where you can't tap me and I'm going to try to kill you every single time.
For sure.
And he has like an element of like legitimate strength and athleticism on top of it now. So you got to put all those together. Like you go into a typical gym, you take all the white belts, you may not even have a guy like that.
That's true.
Like the probability of a guy being like that is pretty low. I'm not saying it's zero.
I disagree.
There might be
higher probability,
but I'm saying
not pretty low.
Depends on what. Depends on what you mean by
what
low.
changes that though, in my opinion? What changes is the black belt instructor. Like, so
fully.
If someone is like, "Oh, you want to get tough with that guy over there? Well, let me. I'm going to impose some humility on you."
It's called regulation. It happens.
Yeah, which is yet another factor that kind of contributes to the overall safety of it. So, and I'm not saying low like they're rare or nothing like that, but I'm saying if you take some random class, a new white belt, spazzy, strong, may or may not be young, with like a huge ego, that maybe one guy. You won't get a class full of those.
No, they're not.
So your day-to-day rolling is pretty safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you do need to pick your training partners carefully.
Yeah.
For sure.
But to this guy though, look, Echo and I go way back. I think I probably knew Echo even before you did, Jocko, in our surface warfare days. Our good friend Cake Nuts, who's a mutual friend, and others that we worked with. In fact, Echo was he was a bouncer downtown before I knew.
Everyone knows because he talks about it.
Bruh,
he had to put up with all our shenanigans and back in the day.
Out of trouble.
But I remember coming in here and training at Victory, and Echo was a blue belt and showing me and Cake Nuts like some moves, and because I kind of had this mentality of the guy who asked this question of like, you might get injured, and I was focused on other things. And I trained here all the time, and a lot of times I'd be here to work out, and I'd do stand up, and I never trained jiu-jitsu like I should have. Never stuck with it consistently. Didn't have the discipline to do that. For whatever reason, I get pulled in different directions, and here we are, 10 or 12 years later, and Echo's a brown belt. She's knocking on the door of getting his black belt, and I'm still a white belt. So
what door is he knocking on?
I'm not knocking
on any
door.
door getting knocked on.
That's not up to me. I don't think about that.
Here's silence out there.
Yep.
So don't be that guy. I think I would make the time to train.
Pretty
get some.
Yeah, for sure.